Coming up on this Monday edition of Daybreak, President Park Geun-hye is in Beijing ahead of the APEC Summit. She's expected to meet with several world leaders, and there's growing speculation the Korea-China FTA could be concluded in the coming days. Korea will send a medical team to a special treatment center in Sierra Leone this week to help in the fight against Ebola. Plus, tens of thousands crowd the streets of Berlin as it marks 25 years since the fall of the wall that divided the city during the Cold War. Daybreak begins now. Hello and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Monday, November 10th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to Daybreak. Our top story this morning. President Park Geun-hye is in China on the first part of a 9-day trip that will also take her to Myanmar and Australia. On the sidelines of the APEC Summit in Beijing, President Park will hold bilateral talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where the focus will be on the progress of Korea-China FTA negotiations. The Korea-Australia Leaders Summit will also take place in Beijing, and it's expected that President Park will meet with US President Barack Obama there as well. Now, in Myanmar, where she will attend the ASEAN3 Summit, President Park will seek to strengthen ties in meetings with her counterparts from India and New Zealand. Finally, while in Brisbane, Australia for the G20 summit, President Park plans to ask the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia to support Korean firms seeking to take part in Saudi construction projects. Now, on the sidelines of the APEC summit taking place in Beijing, Korea and China, as we just mentioned there, are expected to make a very big announcement about their free trade negotiations. Our Chae Yu-sun, who is travelling with President Park, filed this report.
On Monday, the first day of the APEC China Summit, President Park will hold talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping. And it's highly expected that the two leaders will announce a major development in their bilateral FTA, such as the completion of their 30-month-long negotiations. In fact, Korea's high-ranking official told reporters Sunday that the trade pact negotiation was nearing an end, albeit still ongoing. During Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Seoul in July, the two presidents agreed to finalize their FTA within this year. The two sides had disagreed on opening up each other's service market, tearing down the non-tariff barrier and regulations concerning a product's place of origin. Seoul had wanted Beijing to immediately open its industrial products market, while Beijing demanded Seoul to further open its agricultural and fisheries markets. Speaking to a Chinese broadcaster a day before the APEC summit, President Park said Korea and China, through the signing of their FTA, would give a boost to discussions on integrating economies in the Asia-Pacific region. Presidents Park and Xi will also exchange views on regional security, especially on ways to resolve the North Korean nuclear issue and restore peace and stability on the peninsula. Also on Monday, the Korean leader will meet the APEC Business Advisory Council, where she plans to introduce her 3-year economic innovation plan to spur domestic growth and expand the job market through social reforms, deregulation, and supporting creative industries. Chae Yu-sun, Arirang News, Beijing.
Now, the two Americans released from captivity in North Korea have been reunited with their families in the United States. Kenneth Bae and Matthew Todd Miller were freed following a rare visit by a top U.S. official to North Korea, and he brought with him a letter from President Barack Obama. Seoul says it welcomes the North's move, but wants Pyongyang to do the same for a South Korean missionary detained still in the North. Our Kim Yeon-bin reports.
The two Americans freed from North Korea arrived safely back in the United States on Sunday, accompanied by U.S. Intelligence Chief James Clapper, who intervened on their behalf. The two, Kenneth Bae and Matthew Todd Miller, had been doing hard labor in North Korea, And their release comes less than 3 weeks after a third American detainee was freed by Pyongyang.
Well, I think it's a wonderful day for them and their families. Obviously, we're very grateful for their safe return.
Bae, a Korean-American missionary, was arrested in North Korea in November 2012 and sentenced to 15 years of hard labor for crimes against the state. After landing in the U.S., he thanked President Barack Obama and the North Korean government for his freedom and said he appreciated the thoughts and prayers of people who supported him. Miller, who did not speak to the press, was reportedly tried on an espionage charge and had been in custody since April. The release comes on the heels of a UN resolution highlighting Pyongyang's human rights violations and calling for referral to the International Criminal Court. North Korea has been on a diplomatic campaign to counter the move, but it is unclear why the communist state freed the two men at this point. The U.S. says Clapper's visit to North Korea was strictly for humanitarian purposes and does not signal a policy change toward a reclusive state. CNN reported that the North Korean government issued a statement about the release, saying it had received an earnest apology for the men's actions from President Obama. According to the statement, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered the release. The South Korean government welcomed the release of the two Americans, but urged Pyongyang to release a South Korean missionary who was detained in North Korea for spying last May.
We want the North to release our missionary Kim Jong-uk on humanitarian grounds, and we want the North to actively respond to humanitarian issues between the two Koreas, including reunions for separated families.
UN Secretary General Park Geun-hye expresses hope that the move would create positive momentum for improving relations for peace and security on the Korean Peninsula and beyond. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Now, Japan, the United States and Australia wrapped up their first ever trilateral military exercise on Sunday. Reports say 15,000 troops are involved in the three-day drill in Miyagi Prefecture. The drill was held under the scenario of a major earthquake and tsunami. Japan's Asahi Shimbun reports that the U.S. wants to encourage other countries in the region to join in similar exercises as Washington slashes its defense budget. In last month's revised guidelines for U.S.-Japan defense cooperation, the two nations added a line that said cooperation with other allies in the region is crucial to maintain stability in the Asia-Pacific region.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
Korea is going to dispatch medical personnel to a British-led Ebola treatment centre in Sierra Leone this week. The 12-person team made up of volunteering doctors, nurses and military officers will be stationed at a special treatment centre that's being built as we speak in the capital city of Freetown. Our Shin Se-min reports.
The destination has been set. Seoul is sending its medical personnel to Sierra Leone to contribute to the global battle against the deadly Ebola epidemic. The Ministries of Foreign Affairs, Health and Defense said Sunday that an advanced team of 12 officials from the three ministries will embark on a visit to the UK and Sierra Leone starting on November 13th to assess the situation for the medical team. The team, with members from 3 government agencies as well as experts from Korea International Cooperation Agency, will be visiting the British-led Ebola treatment center located in the capital of Freetown.
The team will examine treatment facilities for the coming medical team, as well as working conditions. They will also check to see if Korean medics can receive treatment at a nearby ward if they contracted the disease.
But before they arrive in West Africa, they will stop by the UK to visit their safety education facilities and discuss details on safety support system, as the United Kingdom has been providing massive aid effort to Sierra Leone. Korea and the UK are also looking to sign a memorandum of understanding on medical support as part of efforts to work together in the fight against the disease. Initially, the Korean government said it would dispatch a 10-member medical team, but that number is expected to rise. The foreign ministry said 145 people applied to be part of the team, including doctors, nurses, laboratory technicians, and safety managers. 40% of the applicants were women. The ministry said the final group will be chosen based on their level of expertise. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
And Korea's neighbours are also actively supporting the fight against Ebola. China says it will build a medical centre in Liberia equipped with 100 beds and deploy up to 1,000 aid workers to Ebola-affected countries. So far, Beijing has sent well over $120 million in aid to the three hardest-hit countries, namely Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone. In addition, Japan has announced plans to send thousands of doses of the anti-influenza drug Avigan to the African countries. Now, clinical research has shown that this drug is fairly effective against Ebola. However, one country going against the grain is North Korea. Pyongyang has refused to offer any kind of foreign assistance. Local researchers here in South Korea are touting the development of a so-called aerospace reflector, and this stands to enhance Korea's status in the field of optical science technology. Our Paul E. explains what it does.
This is the locally developed observation satellite Arirang 3. Its high-resolution optical camera can shoot images of land with a 0.7-meter resolution. But this new high-end reflector developed by local researchers has even a better resolution of 0.5 meters, the highest level so far. The aerospace reflector that measures 1 meter in diameter was created just 1 year after the country began production on a reflector with a precision down to 10 nanometers.
In case of commercial satellites, there is hardly any that are bigger than 1 meter in diameter. We can say this is a world-class reflector.
A reflector is a key part that defines the resolution of a satellite camera. The larger the diameter and the more detailed the spherical surface, the clearer image it can obtain. The team reduced its weight by 20% and the use of glass by a half in order to cut the cost of launching the satellite while increasing its mobility. It's also successfully passed environmental testing that proves it can withstand the extreme temperatures of space.
From now on, all of the high-resolution satellite cameras could be made 100% domestically.
The reflector, which will be mounted onto a multi-purpose satellite to be launched in 2020, is expected to enhance Korea's status in the field of optical science technology. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
Time now for a look through the global headlines we're following on this Monday morning here in Seoul. For that, we turn to our Eunice Kim, standing by the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. Just a few hours ago, Germany marked its 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War with an elaborate symbolic remembrance. This as some fear a new Cold War could be mounting amid the growing crisis in eastern Ukraine. Our Son Jung-in takes you there.
A light installation was set to commemorate the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall on Sunday. 8,000 illuminated balloons containing personal messages were released along a 15-kilometer stretch of the former border to signify the dissolution of not only the wall but of the symbolic division between East and West. German Chancellor Angela Merkel led the celebrations attended by tens of thousands of people and honored those who helped bring down the wall, describing its fall as an example of the human yearning for freedom. However, the day also served as a reminder that the scars of history remain in the people's hearts. Former leader of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, who is credited for his role in reuniting Berlin in 1989, warned that tensions between the U.S. and Russia over Ukraine have put the world on the brink of a new Cold War.
The world is on the brink of a new Cold War. Some say that it has already begun. And yet, while the situation is dramatic, we do not see the main international body, the UN Security Council, playing any role or taking any concrete action.
Gorbachev sided with Russian President Vladimir Putin, who faces strong international criticism for Moscow's role in the crisis of eastern Ukraine, saying the West should lift sanctions imposed on senior Russian officials and resolve problems through dialogue. 손정인, Arirang News.
Turning to other news now, U.S. President Barack Obama has signaled a new phase in the fight against Islamic State militants as his country prepares to double up on the number of military advisors dispatched to Iraq. In an interview with CBS News' Face the Nation, President Obama said the deployment of up to 1,500 more troops does not change the fact that the American military personnel will not engage in combat. He said Phase 2 would be marked by an offensive posture if Phase 1 was a defensive one, as an inclusive and credible central government was being established in Iraq. And finally, thousands of citizens in Spain's wealthy region of Catalonia went to the polls on Sunday to vote in a largely symbolic poll on whether or not it should be a state independent from Spain. The move comes in defiance of an earlier order by Spain's constitutional court to suspend the, quote, unconstitutional referendum. The Catalan government said it recorded nearly 2 million people had cast their ballots 2 hours before its 6,700 polling stations were closed. Nationalism has been brewing in Catalonia and its capital of Barcelona. The region and its 7.5 million people contribute more to the Spanish economy than it gets back in government funds.
Now, steel is one of Korea's flagship export items, with outbound shipments accounting for more than half of the country's total output. But POSCO, which is the country's leading steelmaker, is losing ground in the global market in the face of cheap Chinese steel. And in this week's Industry Insight, our Park Geun-hye tells us how POSCO is weathering this storm.
In the late 90s, POSCO was the #1 company in the global steel market in terms of productivity. But that was a long time ago. Today, it's the world's 6th largest steel maker, with Chinese mills quickly making up ground, or in some cases, even moving past POSCO. Is it a sign of things to come? Take a look. China's steel exports are as strong now as they've ever been, hitting a record high in September. This has a lot to do with Chinese steelmakers looking to the global market with a slowdown in the domestic economy, but their low prices are also enticing global clients. This is bad news for Korea's largest steelmaker, POSCO.
Chinese competitors are starting to export to markets that POSCO does, which means more competition and slumping steel prices.
Given the market conditions, then, it should come as no surprise that POSCO's sales and profits have been on the slide for the past 3 years. Adapting to the new landscape, POSCO, which has nearly 50 affiliates, is offloading its non-steel units like department stores. But analysts say such a strategy cannot be a cure-all for POSCO.
POSCO should expand its marketing network and strategic alliances with its customers to innovate its steel products by cooperating with its customers.
In fact, the Korean steelmaker is already doing that, calling its strategy solution marketing. POSCO has pledged to contribute to the development of its customers by introducing products that cater specifically to their needs. For example, by teaming up with French automaker Renault, POSCO developed high-strength but lightweight steel products for Renault's new hybrid car, leveling the playing field against cheap but lower-quality steel from China. Park Geun-hye, Arirang News.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off in the LPGA, where Stacey Lewis hoped to gain ground on the world rankings, with Park Geun-hye not participating at the 2014 LPGA Mizuno Classic over the weekend. But it was another Korean who took the title with a dramatic finish. That's just an incredible final round of the event, with Korea's Lee Mi-hyung, Lee Lee, and Japan's Kotono Kazuma sharing the lead after 18 holes of the final round, all at 11 under par overall. And it didn't take just a couple of sudden death playoff holes, but 5 as 21-year-old Lee Mi-hyung comes up on top with a clutch birdie, claiming her first LPGA Tour title of her career. Meanwhile, world number 2 Stacey Lewis, who struggled a bit in the second round, finished off tied for 31st at 5 under par overall. And now shifting over to the 2014-2015 ISU Short Track World Cup, which kicked off its new season as the stars from the Sochi Winter Games continued their dominance in their sport. This includes Shin Da-eun, who won the men's 1500-meter gold, and 17-year-old Shim Seok-hee, who won the gold medal in the women's 1000-meter event for her 11th straight World Cup event with a gold medal finish. Meanwhile, Russia's Victor An, a.k.a. An Hyun-soo, would take the top podium spot at the men's 1000-meter event. And now with that, shifting over to the 2014 Korean series between the Samsung Lions and the Nexen Heroes, who are set to face off in Game 5 of the best-of-5-7 series later tonight. And as usual, starting from Game 5 of the series, the Korean series will take place at Chamsil Stadium instead of the Mokdong Stadium or the Daegu Stadium where the both teams play. With Samsung squeezing past Nexen in Game 3, Nexen answered back with a parade of home runs in Game 4, tying the series at 2-2. Meanwhile, crucial Game 5 later tonight with the struggling Henry Sosa taking the mound for the Nexen Heroes, and Samsung's ace Rick Vandenhurst getting the start as well. Now, Korea has hosted some of the biggest international sporting events in the world, and in 2017, the city of Suwon hopes to host the Under-20 World Cup. So why not get a big name to help you, right? Well, you might have heard of him. He's Park Ji-sung, the former national team captain and former member of Manchester United. The Korean legend who grew up in Suwon has been named the honorary ambassador for the city as he hopes to promote the city and bring the U20 World Cup to Suwon. Now, during the ceremony on Sunday, he stated that he will work hard to aggressively promote the city to both FIFA and the KFA to make this happen. And speaking of which, over to the K-League Classic, where the final super match of the season between the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings and FC Seoul took place on Sunday at the Suwon World Cup Stadium with Park Ji-sung in attendance. Now, with over 34,000 fans in attendance on Sunday, both sides played aggressively from the start, with both teams firing away with 6 shots each in the first half, but none of those finding the back of the net. Now, the second half kicks off, and Suwon decides to kick it up a notch, firing away 10 more shots, but still failing to score. Now, with the clock winding down and 3 minutes added on, is Ko Yo-han in the 90 plus 3 minutes somehow heads one past the goalkeeper, a last-second goal, and the winner, as FC Seoul wins the final super match of the season 1-0. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Well, it's a very cold morning, and morning lows have plummeted overnight. The low in Seoul is starting out only at 4, and many regions are also kicking off their lows at about 5 to 7 degrees lower than yesterday. So be sure to dress warmly on your way out. And daily highs will gradually increase to reach into the mid to upper teens in many areas. And sunny skies will be featured all day long thanks to the high pressure front, but light layers of fog could be seen in some of the inland regions. So please drive with extra caution this morning as well. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. The daily low in Seoul started out at 4, then the daytime high will top out at 16, while Daegu and Gwangju will peak at 18 and 17, and Busan will climb into 19 this afternoon. And on to other regions. Jeju Island and Daejeon will be getting up to 16 and 17 later on, and Dokdo should see a high of 14. Again, it's a very cold morning, so be sure to dress warmly. And that's all for Korea. Here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's going to do it from us for now, at least. Korea Today is coming up at the top of the hour at 7 a.m. Korea time. Have a great day. Goodbye.